So the topic is really about smartphones. As you all know, globally, the trend is going up. We see the same thing in Malaysia. Maxis sees the same thing, okay, from where we are. Why are they really growing, right? And I'm going to fast track, so that's why I'm speaking the way I'm speaking, right? It's really about evolution of devices. This is how a quad core looked like. This is Dell, a couple of years ago. This is pretty much what it is today, right? It's getting really small, powerful. It's in your hands, right? It's about ecosystem and the applications that builds around it. But I guess we all know this. What I want to speak a little bit about is really about this thing, marrying the insights of consumers and the evolution of the technology, ecosystem and application that has been happening. So I will illustrate it with 3 examples that I have prepared. The first one is really about people like you and I in businesses, right? We often say business users should do this, should do that, but there's a little bit more to why they are adopting the usage of devices, right? So let me just illustrate it. Messaging. Yes, it is about email. Yes, it is about communication. But there's something beyond that. It's really about this expectation that we have in our work life today, whereby there's a need for us to always reply emails, telling people that there's a need for us to do it instantly, because if we don't, it just feels like we're not working. Is that true? There's this thing about social. I don't know, but I don't know about you guys, but if I were to say something like, Liverpool is a great football team and Chelsea isn't, I know, when I'm working, Jason will make a remark on my status. Okay? If there's actually called a thumbs down, I'm sure he will do that, right? But actually do that, right? I love the Star, the e-Star thing, right? The e-newspaper, the Star has done, because, in Maxis we have a lot of meetings. Sometimes, when I read my iPad, just, makes me feel a bit attentive. But what you don't really know is I'm actually reading the newspaper. That's what I do. Okay? And I am a business guy, and I'm sure a lot of people do the same thing. We always talk about games, but ultimately what happens is it's the kids who take the devices and play. And simply because they're just so powerful. You are enjoying your PS2 with the respect of a smaller device, right? And by the way, it's a great way for us to keep them quiet when they're out of the home. You pass it to them, they'll be quiet for the next half an hour, right? Maybe it's a tip to all parents. Now, ultimately, I think there's also a longer term play that we are all working on, which is going towards the multi-play, whereby sharing of big screens, small screens are happening. I think it's a little bit premature today. We are in early days, okay? But hey, a lot of fun today for me to keep a lot of my videos. I show my friends when they come over and say that I can do it on my big screen and on my small screen. I think it's a bit more, it's too much more novelty today, but at some point the experience will change, right? Ultimately, that's what the devices are doing today. And I'll just do one more illustration, education, like my final one. We always associate education with kids or schools or teens. And the beautiful thing is, the world is connected and it's so endless. If I were to say I want to find out more about Stanford, for some reason, I will end up in Chicago, I'll end up in Boston, and I might just end up reading about Harvard. Because it's so deep. That's the big difference, and that's where the interest and the ability ties it in. And I guess it's also so much more cooler when it comes to devices. It just makes everything more fun. And I guess I want to end this with the message to the team here is, or everyone here is, it's not just about devices and ecosystem. I think the play on what I call consumerism is really coming up, because it's really about finding the match of what you really want to do, going very in-depth in it, finding high relevance and insights, and that's why smart devices are what it is today. And if I'll part with one thought for you guys, we always talk in a world of consumer, whereby you always launch a product that meets the consumer's needs. I think in the world of devices, ecosystem, and also the application that are being built, it's not just about product. It's really about the ability for us to go to each one and each individual of you and going very deep into what you do and what you like and how you behave.
But coming back to Maxis, can you give us one example of how Maxis is leveraging this insight in consumer behavior to come up with an appropriate product which which Maxis is going to deliver to its users?
I think what we have done is over the past year, we are trying to move away. We are making our inputs to move away from just delivering the product and just a price.
But a lot of companies actually try to repurpose themselves looking at this situation. If you remember, there's a internet service called Multiply, which started as a blogging service. And they reinvent themselves. They moved their US office to Indonesia, and they reinvent themselves as a social network for buyers and sellers. So a lot of this stuff happening there. Then we see that the factory start to also move in and make it easy for people. We know payment is always a problem for us. Yeah, smartphone can help, but imagine you want to buy something, you have to input all the details of your devices. It's also troublesome. And how we can play around with this? Answering your question about what are the examples of interesting stuff happening. A lot of this interesting development coming from the user actually generates all their a lot of dynamics actually happen from the users.
It's just 8%, right? So it's a ridiculous amount compared to retail. 92% of every commerce transaction is offline. So the whole idea is how the hell do you get the 92%? So that's where the smart devices come in. We've come to an age where we went from barter trading, we went to freaking coins and then paper, and now it's plastic. How much have we really evolved? So we got to start looking at the smart devices, and this is the time it's ready. Smart devices are ready to become that medium for you to become the next payment gateway. So take a picture of a product and start transacting online just like that. So that's the trend. We're moving from e-commerce, it's too small. The next thing is the mobile commerce. That's going to be in the 92%. Of course, people go like, how the hell can you get mobile commerce with NFC? Every phone doesn't have bloody NFCs. But if you see what's happening in the trend, recently we were in Barcelona, we met up with SK Telecoms in Korea. They figured out how to put a freaking NFC chip in your SIM card. So it's not about having an NFC phone anymore. Any phone can become an NFC-based app. Right? So that's where we're going. We went to more local content. That's where you want to be. If you want to get that 92%, and be the next trillionaire.
There's this other link back to why I started the presentation on consumer, right? To really drive the change from that 8% to a bigger chunk of the category pie. It's really about them trying to find the relevance. While all this stuff are great, it's not relevant to everyone. It's relevant to the right group of people if you know who you're going to. For example, I love the idea of ability to buy, to snap a picture or grocery. I use that example. And you can do order, you can do commerce from that point of view. But it's not for everyone. It's for a certain group of people. And that's why I go back to the word consumerism. While the technology is making it happen, let's not forget the fundamentals of why consumers behave the way they do. It is great to show you that I can.
You go to the Apple store in the US, I don't even have to go to the cash register. I take out the phone, I'm using my iTunes card credit to basically scan that barcode, purchase the item, use the forecast to the store. So that's where Apple and Google are basically doing the NFC. You're using it on your day-to-day context. You don't have to know how to use the internet and buy online. It's not that. You are plugging in the 90% with your mobile device. So you go into the store, you're at the grocery store, you put your phone there and go to the toilet.
But you carry that a lot of stuff which can make the transaction become more secure. Like you got your SIM card can be location, you know the velocity, when you do the transaction, where they are, where they usually do the transaction. So you can inject that into the transaction. That will be very interesting. So I see one demo, one company actually in the US is what they do is that they connect from telco side to the credit card side and also to the merchant side. So imagine that I go to a website and say, quality support, I want to buy a shoe. Yeah. So usually you have to go in, you choose the one you want, then say, yeah, I want to buy this shoe. Then they ask you to log in first. If you have not logged in that account, they ask you to create an account. After you do everything, they say, okay, input your payment. That process takes them maybe like how many clicks, and that's very, not really ideal for a mobile environment. But if you work together with the carrier, the point is that you go to the portal, you know, oh, this is the MD, right? So you just choose whatever you want, and click on a buy. You say, okay, I know MD that this bank account behind it, because you pre-define beforehand, because Maxis partnership the same thing, Maybank or whatever. So this says, yes, I want to buy, I want to click on this, do the payment, it's done. So such technology is working out at the moment, and there's a partnership between the carrier and also the bank, and also benefit company and the merchant.